Hello folks, I'm going to do a quick announcement and demonstration of a new indicator I have created for the market internal suite of indicators I've been developing for TradingView for the past couple of months. So if you've watched my market internal review videos, or if you're following me on Twitter/X, you'll see me often reference TiWAP, which if you don't know what that is, that's tick weighted average price. That's this indicator here, which simply tracks the tick market internal breadth indicator, tracks the uptick versus downtick across the New York Stock Exchange. As that occurs, the breaks of 500 in this case is default sensitivity. So tick positive 500 or minus 500. When that is broken, I take the average price of the current stock you have loaded and start to plot that average line. Now the average line, I also will plot by default a deviation 1 calculation, which gives you this band here. And you can configure up to 3 bands. By default, it's 1, 2, and 3 multipliers. As the day progresses, they expand and contract and move directionally up and down. I often have them locked to regular trading hours data only, and I often use the session anchorage period. And using these for my trading intraday and creating trade plans for the next day, I started to observe that price was reacting to these bands from previous session. So drawing vertical lines every day, as you can imagine, became rather cumbersome and just something I feel somebody that can program should not be doing by hand every day. You can see, of course, though, when those price lines are projected into the next session, the price seems to react to them. And thus I added that feature directly into TiWAP itself called Show Target Levels. So we plot those on there, and it does the job for you. So you no longer have to do that. Now, of course, as with most things that I get into, I started to expand upon that feature even more and started to think, well, if the daily target levels are something price reacts to, what about the week? So we turn on anchorage point to the week instead. And once that loads here, you'll see that price is responding to weekly TiWAP levels as well. Okay, so Friday here, for example, we started right at this TiWAP level from last week and wrestle around with one from last week as well at the lows, often having rejections, and the weekly TiWAP itself providing some nice movement. And even this Monday, September 25th, where we reject at highs, happened to be the first deviation low from the week of September 22nd. Even these bounces here was the second deviation low from the week of September 22nd. So just very amazing phenomenon that I have discovered and continue to use in my trades. So of course, then one might ask, well, if the daily or session price targets are something that price responds to, well, surely then the month must also have things that the price would respond to, and you would be right. Oftentimes, price will bounce around at these levels from, in this case, August TiWAP on September. And I've just seen it enough that it has become a core part of how I analyze price and where I expect price to have some kind of movement. I can't be convinced of anything other than the fact that these prices are something somebody or something is utilizing to analyze structure as well. So, of course, having all these various TiWAPs becomes quite cumbersome to manage and starts filling up quite a lot of my indicator slots on TradingView, because I also like to have not only the first, second, and third deviations, but I like to have the quarters, the halves, and the 3/4 in between these ranges, because I started using the fib tool to measure 0.5 between here. If you've watched my market internal videos, you know I'm a big fan of 50% measurement of lots of things, and you can see oftentimes 50% I mean, I don't care where I put this thing, 50% for whatever reason, it always seems to be a bounce location all the time. And I mean, I could spend hours showing you 50% movement of all kinds of things. So of course, then I start setting up multiple TWAPs with 0.25, 1.25, and 2.25, and it became very cumbersome. So what I decided to do was export or duplicate the feature of plotting price target lines as its own indicator. So that then became TWAP ranges. I just released this on TradingView. This does the exact same thing that TWAP does. It even has the TWAP calculation internally within, because it has to have that in order to calculate these price lines. So just very quickly, you can see on the weekly time frame, we have all of the same lines we would have if we use TWAP on the week. I'll even set this back to the week to prove it, or to demonstrate it rather. I don't need to convince anybody. You can go see it for yourself. Okay. So same exact lines. And what's really nice about this is now, instead of having 4 different TWAPs just to get the same amount of lines you see here with one indicator, we can have it mainly due to the feature of multiplier additives. So in this case, these additives are applied to each one of these. So this results in 6 additional lines, because there's a high and low for each one of these. So 2, 4, 6 lines here, and then this is applied to this one for 2 additional lines, this one for 2 additional lines, and this one for 2 additional lines. So then this, each one of these is the same thing. So you notice the subtractive sign here, even though it says additive, what this is doing is this is added here. So 1 plus negative 0.75 results in a 0.25 multiplier, and a 1.25 and a 2.25. So same thing for the halves, and same thing for the negative 0.25. That becomes 0.75, 1.75, and 2.75. Then the color management, because I like to have different colors to manage, representing the different anchorages, so weeks, months, quarters, or years. You give different colors, and you can manage all that right from here, instead of having to use the cumbersome style tab. Each one of these then also allows you to do something else much simpler, without hopefully filling up too many indicator slots. Is that on this case, where we had a week low from this week, here we had a break on September 19th. Then we broke even lower, and there's no data here for me. So what you can do is duplicate your TWAP ranges indicator, and you simply assign 4th, 5th, and 6th multipliers at the top here, and then the rest is handled for you. And now when you turn that on, now you get more range data down here. Same thing again, 7, 8, and 9 for your multipliers. Now you have even more ranges. So you can kind of follow price around. Of course, you don't have to have all of these plotted all the time. You could also, once we break lower, you could just come in here and set these ones to 7, 8, and 9, because you no longer are trading up here. And then what that should allow is for you to just trade these levels down here. I have thought about creating one indicator that follows price around and will continue to plot additional deviations as price breaks lower and lower, or higher and higher. But I have not gotten to that part yet. Maybe I will eventually upgrade this indicator to have that feature. But this is a stepping stone in the right direction. So this is pretty much the indicator. I hope you enjoy it. Please feel free to leave any feedback, and let me know if it's something that you're using in your trading plans. Are you using them for swings, intraday scalps, bounce detection, exhaustion, or maybe you don't use them at all. Anyways, any feedback you can provide would be fantastic, and I hope you find some use out of this. And as always, thanks for watching. Happy trading.